Well, I want a grounded Spider-Man. Winston wants a grounded Spider-Man. Coy wants a grounded Spider-Man. Kevin Feige wants a grounded Spider-Man, and it looks like Tom Holland wants a grounded Spider-Man. The question is, will they budge? And it looks like one of the things that happened, it's this pushback. It looks like the story itself is done, right? It looks like the story itself, there's a script, but I think there's a few more things that Sony is still pushing on that Holland and the MCU doesn't want. At least that's what it seems like. And speaking of Tom Holland and speaking of Spider-Man, looks like that Tom Holland knew about Downey returning before a lot of us did, before many people did. And that was interesting, and considering he was one of the biggest people to leak stuff. So he talked about how that was tough. And I think that it was Downey himself who might have told him. And what does that mean in the future? Does that mean because, like, hey, you should stick around playing this character because we'll get to do some more stuff together. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Penguin. We'll talk about Agatha. There's more stuff out there, but it's me and Winston today. Corey's running around New York City doing something, and we'll discuss all these stories and more. Me and Winston. Let's get going. Welcome back to the show. Kristian Harloff Show, Capes and Cow style. Myself, Winston A. Marshall. You're back. You like the password to get into the room today?
Such a douche.
Yeah, well, for people who don't know, we have to do this password to get into the show, and I said the Cowboys got their ass beat last week. I mean, I'm not. There's no bragging from what my team's doing. They're just as bad.
I know you guys are terrible, but at least you knew you were terrible.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You went into the year.
Right.
You didn't go in going, "This is the year that Daniel Jones finally turns the corner."
Right. You thought something good was going to happen, and nothing good came about all of it. I knew that we were getting served duty on a plate. You thought you were getting filet mignon.
Well, when you consider what they were able to pull off last year, there were issues.
Yeah.
But like they won the division. Dak and CD got paid. We had 9 all pros. Like you thought, hey, they'll work to improve. But the minute they didn't make no off-season free agency pickups, I was like, we're trash. We're gonna be bad. And then it just got proven over and over again. I'm glad.
So you want to know why I know I feel your pain where you feel like something really good's gonna happen and then nothing comes of it except misery. That was how I felt watching the Yankees last night. Did you watch? Did you pay attention to that game?
I just heard about it because like I'm more of a Rangers fan, but the Dodgers are my second favorite team, and so I was sitting here like my buddy and I were talking. We're like, look, who doesn't want the history of the Dodgers versus the Yankees? The Guardians are a much better matchup for us, and so to hear what happened to y'all, I was like, thank Black Jesus.
Well, it was only 2-1. It was only 2-1. I mean, they said it was just the fact that it was almost 3. Yeah, because the Dodgers are whooping up on the Mets right now. But it's like, when
New York must be real upset
after last night. Yeah, because dude, I was watching that game last night, and Sam Levine, he knows he's on my shit list right now because like he was pulling for the Yankees too. But he's like they got it, it's over, it's done. And then I didn't tell him this because I didn't want to make him feel even worse. The Yankees were up, and it looked like they were going to close it out. And it was the last inning, and I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pause it right now. I'm going to walk the dog. And I saw and they had 2 outs, and I was like, oh, we're in good shape. I'm going to pause it. And I'm walking the dog, and I see Sam. I'm like, oh, he's writing me to let me know that it's over. I was like, I'm not going to look at it until I watch the game. And then I was like, I'll look at it. And he's like, I'm sorry, I jinxed you, and now it's tied. And I'm like, you mother F. And then I had to watch it, and then I just had to watch the punishment. And then watching that, I was sitting there with my daughter, my 12-year-old, and she's like, she's almost 13, and she goes, we're watching it, and she says, what happens here? I go, well, you're either going to see two versions of me right now, either the, let's get into the 11th inning here, let's move, or you're going to see me go, of course that's the way it went, and the guy hits the home run. I'm like, of course that's the way it went. It was a disaster.
You got to look, and then we can go on to what we're actually here for.
Yeah.
I mean, you can take it again from a Rangers fan. I'm glad we got our World Series last year, but I don't know if you remember the epic collapse that we had. We're 2 outs.
Yeah.
You're up like 6-2 in the bottom of the inning to win the World Series, and the Cardinals have a full comeback, push it to extra innings, and then that was game like 5. We blew the next 2 games to lose the World Series to them. So like,
I know it's anything can happen.
Baseball never counted out.
No, I mean, it's the same time my mom was talking about it. Said this is when the same roughly 20 years ago, when that epic collapse happened with the Yankees and the Red Sox. Like Yankees were up 3-0 and they lost that series. So there's nothing is guaranteed. Anyway, we have a lot to talk about. I was going back and forth because Rocha always starts out strong on Monday with the questions. He's always the one that pushes, and everybody has to catch Rocha. And then Roxy and Brett had a great showing on Tuesday. I had a better showing. I had a pretty good showing on Wednesday. Didn't beat anybody, but it's the fact that it was better than 8. And I went up, okay, we'll see what Mike can do, because Steph bailed at the last minute. She had to do something. So I'm like, oh, Mike by himself. Mike pulled, 112 or something yesterday.
Wow.
112. So it's going to be, and there's only one person I know that had to overcome a thing and then wound up getting over 100 to win it and set the record, and that was you. So you're by yourself again, and you got a chance because there's no Koi. So we'll see what happens. Right now you have 4. So we have a long road.
I'll put this challenge out there to the Capes and Cows fans, man. There is something kind of funny that if we do this again without Koi here,
it would be fun. Wait, then we just Koi. That would have been Koi's last show. Then, if you do it again, that was Koi's last show.
Now you realize you just stopped a bunch of questions from coming in for people that don't want to see Koi just kicked off the show.
Yeah.
So why would you say that? You literally just hamstrung the hell out of me. What the hell is this?
No, yeah, I'm not gonna really kick him off the show. But there's a lot of things that were going on, dude, in the news I was looking at, and this one thing we've been talking about this, the Spider-Man story and all that, about what it should be. Should it be grounded? Should it lead to Daredevil and Punisher? And then you got all the reports that that's what Feige wants, and Rothman and Sony basically want the opposite. They want to go big, grand, multiverse setup, the Andrew Garfield stuff, and just basically no creative, just like, let's try to nervous. Well, Tom Holland's been talking about it. He's talking about the script in general, and he gave this interview, and I thought this was pretty interesting. Yeah. Check this out.
When I signed my contract for Spider-Man 1, I signed a 6-picture deal. I was 18 years old. I was more excited than I'd ever been about anything ever. And for the last 10 years, I have been at the beck and call of Marvel and Sony. And proudly so. It's been the best experience of my life. I'm now at a juncture where I can say no. And now that I've been afforded that power, I am struggling to figure out what is the right thing to do. It's meant I've had to put my foot down in certain instances, which I haven't been allowed to do in the past. And I think the learning curve that I'm on right now is dealing with that new sense of power, making sure that I don't abuse it, but making sure that I do the best thing for me rather than for the studio. And really the best thing for the character. I don't want to make another movie for the sake of making it. I don't want
the studio wants you to make another Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah, they do. And I want to make another one. I want to make many more, but I want to do it for the right reasons. And now, like I said to you earlier, sometimes I miss the day when getting the job was the win. Navigating and figuring out what having that kind of power means and that responsibility. Yeah. And I'm figuring it out, and I'm speaking to people and asking questions, and I've been speaking to Downey a lot, but it is something that keeps me up at night, and I'm constantly thinking of, like, is this the right thing to do? Am I going to do justice to the character? Am I going to do justice to the fans? I definitely don't want to just make a movie for the sake of it, because that's not what Spider-Man represents.
Okay. So that is, he's talking about being part of the Spider-Man, for so long that when he signed up to it when he was younger, he was, it was something he just, he was 18 years old, sign me up. And then as he gets more power and more responsibility to it, that he realizes he can't just make the movies because the studio wants to make the movies. He wants to make more. The guy said, "You want to make more?" He's like, "Yeah, I want to make a bunch of these, but I don't want to just do it to do it. I want it to be good." And it looks like, there's more. And he mentioned, and we'll get into a little bit more about the Downey side of it and how Downey kind of has been talking to him also. But this is something to me that is okay. Yeah, push back, man. Push back. You have the opportunity. He's the guy that can make Sony go, "Ugh, this guy doesn't want to do this. If we re-signed him up and we have him, and we can't, if he doesn't, he's got more creative control now of certain things because he's at that point where he can do that. You do movie 2, you can do, hey, Paul Giamatti is going to be in this, Jamie Foxx is going to be in this, and you got to do whatever we tell you going to do. But this doesn't make any sense to do this the way. Shut up and act." That's not the case anymore. So do you think this is something, Winston, where he's going to be able to actually have some, power over Sony here?
Yeah, in the sense that you can replace him if you want to, but you know that he works, and you would also then, even though you own the rights to it, you would piss off Disney. And to be honest with you, the only reason Sony has been successful with Spider-Man in recent memory, with the exception of the Spider-Verse films, has been because of your collaboration with Disney. Your live action Spider-Man stuff has done nothing since, I would argue, the Amazing Spider-Man 1. They did okay at the box office with 2, but it was most people did not like it. I enjoyed it, but a lot of people didn't. So you can run the risk and try and do this on your own. Disney's not going to necessarily want to do that. Obviously, they have a lot of big plans for Spider-Man, so they're pushing back too. I think Tom is kind of the last guardian here. He's, for lack of a better comparison, he's Heimdall, from Asgard. He's like kind of the guard at the gate, being like, "Nah, I see everything. Ain't nothing getting in here unless I say so."
And I hope that's the case. I mean, because I do feel, though, they're still going to wind up doing a multiverse thing. I really do. Oh. And it's just, the question is just like, how does it, because there's also that rumor the other day, and I guess we can dive into that a little bit, is the Sinister Six rumor. Did you hear that?
I did.
Yeah. So there was like the conversations that there was still talks that they want to do that. And to me, the way that would work, if they're going to still do it based off the Drew Goddard thing and Andrew Garfield, was, let's give Andrew Garfield a little more spotlight in the next Spider-Man movie, and then build him up even more so in the Avengers movie. And then when we get a little bit, we can get 3-4 years into it, we get that movie out there, and he'll be built back up to be Spider-Man, and it's scratch our Sony backs, and Tom Holland can run around in the MCU for as long as he wants. That's what it seems like to me if they're going to do it that way, but I don't know how you feel about it.
I mean, I have said this a million times, that my idea to be able to bring Toby and Andrew back into the fold, if you really want to use them again, which they did a great job. I genuinely enjoyed what the work they did and the chemistry between the three of them. But as we've all said, we need Spider-Man to just be Spider-Man. If you want to do that, literally do kind of like oh my God, what was the Robert Rodriguez Tarantino thing? The Grindhouse.
Oh shoot, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Like the double feature.
Grindhouse, right?
Yeah, Grindhouse, yeah. The double feature where they were both about like 90 minutes, pushing 2 hours, something like that, into one giant kind of watch along thing or whatever. Do kind of like a 90-minute pushing 2-hour film with Toby, a 90-minute pushing 2-hour film with Garfield, and like what's been going on with them, because we alluded to it, we talked about it in No Way Home. So then that way you can catch up. So if you want to see Toby being domesticated with MJ and what that kind of looks like as an older Spider-Man, we can have an adventure with him. You do one with Andrew, and what has he been doing with his grief and stuff like that. So we got to see the Spider-Man multiverse type situation. And then it cuts to here is Tom, and that will be then the next movie, and we get to just have him. So you got your multiverse, but we got to watch them in individual areas. We're not pushing this idea of like, oh, but now more portals opened up, and here's the Sinister Six that we didn't earn, and here's Null again.
And that's what Sony's going to do. That's what Sony absolutely will do. It's that everything you just said is what Sony will.
The first thing I said, because if they did, I don't hate that.
No. The end. All the stuff at the end. The stuff that they're going to do is they're just going to start. That's what they do. They throw things because I mentioned the other day there are two There are people that you look at a James Gunn who's running DC, who's both a business-minded executive and a creative executive, obviously. Then you look at Kevin Feige, who's a creative executive plus a business savvy. And that's why those things. No, look, there's been misses along the way for sure, but there's and we don't know yet from Gunn, but that's who you want, that type of person. The Rothmans and the Kennedys of the world are the problem with franchises like this. They're an old school mentality. They can use that format of what they do to make the one hit movies, the one-off movies, or every other movie. Oh, that one worked, that one didn't. That one worked the way that a lot of the other studios normally do. But when you're working with the big overall universes, you can't do that. You need someone that can actually see it and not just try to crunch the numbers. You look at someone, again, who I like, but I don't think he's the right guy to be running the Transformers thing, is Lorenzo Di Bonaventura. He's another one. He's the old school mentality filmmaking or executives in that business sense, and it's old and it doesn't work, and it clearly doesn't work. And the stupid people that keep on letting these people do this, and then, how did that happen again? And it's like, yeah.
Because like the way that I essentially envision, if you want to really tackle these other two Spider-Men, treat it the way that the show What If did, but just as, again, slightly smaller than feature length, but technically feature length films for each one of them. And again, if you're like, what, No Way Home was essentially a 3-hour film. If you're giving them both that time to do that, it's about the same amount of money to do the whole thing. You again get to bring them back in, and now they actually become relevant. The way that their story was in No Way Home, they were perfect for that story, but that doesn't just automatically mean, yep, just throw them right back in there, because you're also now doing a gimmick. And if you do a gimmick, you're gonna, at a certain point, people are gonna get bored.
Yeah.
You need them to actually be engaged in something like that. That's why, for example, if we're talking on a TV show sense, like WandaVision ultimately worked, is because at first it was like, oh, they're doing this TV gimmick, but like, wait, no, there's actually a mystery behind this. What's actually going on psychologically?
It's clever.
And then the story unfolded. So if you're going to do that, great. But if you're just going to kind of be like, hey, 3 Spider-Men.
Right. It's just to do. Well, everybody liked that. So let's do that again. Everybody liked that. That's you. Come on. And they tell Marvel, come on, make that work again. And it's like, well, we have a different version of this character, and good on Tom Holland if he pushes it back. But sticking with the Tom Holland side of it, he also revealed the thing about Downey, and this is the story over here on Comic Book Movie. So, he's been notoriously pretty bad about keeping secrets, but he knew this one and didn't say anything. Tom Holland has elaborated on his dynamic with Marvel Studios. He talked about that one we just listened to. And then the same thing, and then he goes into a little bit more. Holland went on to talk about Robert Downey Jr., and he's been instrumental in helping him to figure out Spider-Man's future. The actor also confirmed he's known about his Avengers Endgame co-star's return as Dr. Doom for quite some time. He said the studio wants to make another Spider-Man. That's the quote we just saw. He said, I've been speaking to Robert Downey Jr., especially about him making his return, which is super exciting. That was a tough secret to sit on, because I have a reputation for ruining things, and I strategically have done no press. Rumor has it that the dynamic between Peter Parker and Victor Von Doom will be a major part of Doomsday. Something we'd imagine Downey pushed for, giving his long-standing friendship with Holland. The actor was instrumental in his casting following their screen test during production on Captain America Civil War. Ultimately, Holland just wants to do right by Spider-Man, and he says, it's the same thing. I'm not complaining. It's a wonderful place to be, but if something keeps me up at night, I'm constantly thinking, is this the right thing to do? Am I going to do justice to the character? Am I going to do justice to the fans? I definitely don't want to just make a movie for the sake of doing it, because that's not what Spider-Man represents. He says it's going really well, though. So he's obviously, both him and Downey have a tremendous amount of power right now. They have a tremendous amount of what is going to happen, what can happen inside of it, right? So this, to me, does make a lot of sense, and it also would make sense if they're going to have him look like Robert Downey Jr. when he takes the mask off. Peter Parker's going to be like, "Whoa, dude, who's that? Like Tony?" And that will then say, "No, that's not who that guy. He just looks like him. Not him. There's nothing to do. It's not an evil Tony Stark. It's just his Victor Von Doom, and he looks like Tony Stark." Okay, we can get over that. We can get over it if they do it the right way. And look, Downey is a good enough actor that he cannot be the Robert Downey Jr. sneakers guy and sunglasses and what we ultimately brought him to Tony Stark and it worked magically. You can't do that. It's got to be a different character. And he's a great actor, but this is even more so.
Have we seen him play a villain?
Yeah, he's played a villain before a few different times, but he in U.S. Marshals. He was a villain. He was a villain in he was definitely douchey in Natural Born Killers. He's yeah,
okay.
he can definitely be douchey.
I'm not saying that he doesn't have the acting chops.
Yeah.
He does. I was just trying to think in my mind because I never saw Natural Born Killers and I haven't seen U.S. Marshals in a very long time.
Yeah.
Because like the only thing that was clicking, but even then he wasn't really a douche. It was I really liked the judge, but he's not. You know what I'm saying? He's not a villain there. He's just he's Robert Downey Jr.
Right. Right.
Like,
He's got to change. He's got to change. He's got to be able to change it. And you look at Oppenheimer. He's a phenomenal actor. And so one of the things that I think was beneficial to him was that, remember, the studio, it's well documented, the studio didn't want him for Tony Stark because they didn't want the insurance and they just didn't think he was going to be able to bounce back. And, they were concerned. And it was Favreau pushed. But the thing that also helped him out tremendously is that there's so much of Robert Downey Jr. in Tony Stark from the addiction stuff to the, the flamboyant, just the way he is in general, the sharp talking, smart dude. I mean, that's Robert Downey Jr. So it was easy for him to bring that out. So now, not only does he have to change that up because the character is significantly different, because he played that character in that universe, everyone's gonna be like, okay, because look, when he took off the helmet at Comic-Con, all I saw was Tony Stark playing dress up as Doctor Doom. But that doesn't mean that that's going to be the case. It just looked, he has his sunglasses on. I was like, oh, that's just Downey playing. You cannot see Tony Stark at all. And
that was I think the biggest miscalculation. And I think it's because Tony Stark really is a variant of Robert Downey Jr. Like he literally has embodied the character fully, and even he added some extra Tony stank on it, but like it is him. When you see him in interviews and things like that, it really is just him turned up to 11. I think that was the mistake, is that he essentially went out there as himself. And so that's what immediately did it. I agree with you. If he had not brought the glasses into it, things like that, and just pulled the mask off and had really displayed something different, I think that would have probably eased some of those people's fears that this is just going to be a carbon copy, but now instead of being on the good guy team, you're on the bad guy team. Yeah,
now especially when you're combining, and this is why it's even more so hammering down that point, is now that if it is a lot of involvement with Tom Holland, like their relationship has to be obviously significantly different, and it will be, but it has to be significantly different, and you have to even see from their interactions and how they talk. Is it because he still is drawn because he looks so much like him and sounds like him that he thinks that it is, and he still has this kind of connection to him? And meanwhile, Victor Von Doom can use that, and he would use that to manipulate this kid. So there's a lot there that could absolutely work in their favor, but it's you're got to pull off a magic trick here.
You really do. But again, I think that's their point, is that they are up to it. So we will genuinely see what comes of that. I am less, I'll be honest, I am much less worried about Robert Downey Jr. as Doom than I am about the state of Spider-Man. I really am, because it doesn't feel like the difference is, I know I don't love what Raimi did with Doctor Strange, and I don't love the idea of him doing like a Doctor Strange sequel personally. But at the time when those Spider-Man films came out, that was somebody that truly was in that world, was really taking it to heart and really crafting that story.
Yeah.
With the execs behind it at Sony, I do not get that same feel. If I felt like Feige was truly fully in charge here, if I felt like a Lord and Miller were taking the kind of intricate care that they have been taking with Spider-Verse, that'd be different. But they've given me plenty of proof that they don't give a shit. They're just trying to not just meet their bottom line, but make as much money as they can, which of course, but you're going to do that because you respect the IP and you make good art, not because you just throw everything you possibly can at the wall and I'm going to gush about it because I'm a fanboy. If you take my childhood and you take a crap on it, I'm not going to be happy with you.
Yeah. And I don't know how it's going to play, but it looks like they're trying to, they want to, and they're pushing back against Sony. So we'll see what ultimately happens. So
real quick, last thing. If Sony needed proof on what they need to be very careful of, I need them beyond what they've done themselves. Go look at Joker Folie à Deux.
I know.
You were talking about another $1 billion film that everybody was super anticipated, but you just kind of let stuff just happen. And look what it did to tarnish what that was.
Yeah, agreed, but there's a different circumstance there. They let one dude, because Warner Brothers is notorious for this, where they say, oh, okay, look, that guy made us a lot of money. What do you need now? You made $1 billion. We didn't think you could do it last time. What do you need? Go ahead, do what you want to do. You don't want to take notes? That's okay. They let one person dictate the whole damn thing, and they let Todd Phillips bully them, basically. So that's they can't with this. That's not the situation. That's more so like they're saying, well, this is the movie we want. We want you guys to make a comic movie, but we want our Spider-Man in there too, and focus on them. They still want to make a Spider-Man movie. They just, But
I get what you're saying. But the reason I made that analogy is because it worked. Do it again and more. That's literally what Sony is doing right now.
Yeah, well, that was
they allowed Warner Brothers to do with Todd Phillips. They were like, Todd Phillips, you crush it, dude. Whatever you want, go again.
Yeah, and he said, yeah, okay, I'll do that. But everything that worked, I'm not doing any of that this time. All right, what do you guys say? Put your thoughts in there. Let us know what you think. Very, very curious. Before we move on, I tell you guys each and every day on the show, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for contributing. And if you haven't already, make sure you check out both The Perfect Gene and Mando. Hey, Mando. Hey, Mando. You all been running around, working out, just walking. And you're like, oh, that stinks. No matter where it is, your pits, your nuts, you need Mando. I like Mando because it's smooth, baby. But I like when I'm in the shower and I'm using any of the Mando stuff, I'm like, oh, I smell wonderful. And I didn't know how it was going to work before I even knew about Mando. And then now that I do, I can't go back. I love it. Deodorant is wonderful. It is safe to use anywhere in your body. You can use it on your pits. You can use it on your nuts. You can use it on your thigh, no matter what, your belly button, your butt. There's a lot of different variety of fresh scents that you can do. Bourbon leather is the one. I talked to Winston about one. That's the one I think he uses too. 12 hours after the shower, the average man's Grundle odor level was 5 out of 10. With Mando, the average Grundle odor level is a 0. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers will get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code, Big Thing. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack code. You got to use that code Big Thing. Go to shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Use that code Big Thing. Let's talk about jeans. Yeah, I recently got a pair from The Perfect Gene. You guys heard me talk about them. And they're basically the unicorn of jeans. Why? Well, they fit like a dream, they look fantastic, and they are so comfy. I forget I'm even wearing pants. In case you don't know, this is an ad, and The Perfect Gene told me to say this. But I wouldn't lie about how awesome these jeans are, because they really do live up to the name. I have mentioned, you guys have seen my wife now. She does not BS. And she said, hey, you look good in those jeans. I said, you like these? She said, I love them. Wear them more. And they fit like they were custom made. They stretch like you wouldn't believe, and they look fantastic. The Perfect Gene, they also have a seriously massive range of sizes with 6 fits from skinny to thick waist sizes from 26 to 50 and lengths 26 to 38. Doesn't matter. It's finally time to stop crushing your nuts in uncomfortable jeans by going to theperfectgene.nyc. Once again, our listeners will get 15% off your first order plus free shipping, free returns, free exchange when you use that code Big Thing at checkout. 15% off for new customers at theperfectgene.nyc. Use that promo code Big Thing. After your purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. You got to support our show. You have to say that we sent you. F your khakis. Get The Perfect Gene, baby. Use that code Big Thing 15. Someone told me yesterday they tried to use it, and I checked in with my people, and they're like, "Oh, it's always been Big Thing 15." So it wasn't in the code. It said Big Thing. It's Big Thing 15. So people who've been trying to get Perfect Gene, you can get them now. Use Big Thing 15 and get that discount. Here we go. 15.
I did. I thought you were talking to me because you were snickering.
15,
I was like,
15. Big Thing 15. And I hope. And yesterday, you know, right now, Winston, I look. I'm not going to doubt you. I'm just going to say you're climbing up a steep hill here. Right now, you barely hit 10 thus far. You're at 9. So right now at 9 to beat Kalinowski is going to be tough, but we'll see.
What were y'all talking about?
No, it wasn't like there wasn't like some huge story. He was
so curious.
going into the second hour. He was only at 35 questions, and then he just wound up. And a lot of people were doing some other. It was Nerds Engaged, who's in here right now. He was gifting a lot of people memberships yesterday, which was really cool too. Okay,
does that count as part of the questions?
I don't believe so. Okay, let's get into some more topics here because there are quite a few things that we're going to discuss. And the first thing we can talk about is actually, before I even show a picture of it, I just finished Penguin episode 4. And
really?
Yeah, I just finished it, and I'm going to watch 5 when we get off the phone. Or when we get off the phone.
Do you have a screener or something?
Yeah, so I'm going to watch both of those, and then I'm going to do my reaction to it because those come out on Sunday. Because I missed Penguin and Agatha last week. Sadie and I did. You got to see the beginning. I posted it on my Instagram, but like Sadie and we posted our Agatha episode. I think it was 5 and 6, and she's watching it. She's, this show isn't very scary. It's not creepy at all. She's like, and then we get to the part where there's like the zombie, whatever, or the possession, and she freaks out. And I go, you can't cover your face. That's the whole point. And I opened up the video with that, and she's like, oh my God, it's hilarious. So that's up there for Agatha. And then I missed both the Penguin, but man, I just finished right before we start shooting. I just watched episode 4. What an episode that was.
I can't believe you were so behind on that.
I did it on purpose. I missed it because Maisie is sick again, by the way, but that's a whole other conversation. Okay? Yeah, she just picks up. She beat this fever. She beat this whole thing. She goes back to school. She picks up a new virus 4 days later. It's the worst.
Dude,
it's the worst.
Do you watch Abbott Elementary?
No, I couldn't get into it.
Oh, dude, I love that show. But they just did an episode about ringworms.
Oh, yeah.
So it just kind of reminds me of exactly that, where their whole thing is like, oh my God, if we're not careful, the whole school will be screwed. They're like, nah, it can't be that bad. It's like, they're kids.
Yeah.
There's no way they're not going to like play rough on the playground and share each other's toys and all this. So it just reminds me of what you're talking about. She gets sick, she comes home, she's fine for like a day, and then immediately gets sick again.
It's crazy. And so that's why, because of that, last week I was so backed up on stuff and I didn't get a chance to see either one. I was like, I could just watch Penguin, do an immediate reaction for it, or I could just make a longer video next week and just react to both of them at the same time. And that's what I ultimately decided to do, because that episode was so good. It was so good. Kristen Milioti is I don't want to spoil the episode for anybody, but like Kristen Milioti is just so good in that. And what I said at the end of the episode in the review was that it just shows you how much confidence they have in and how good the writing is, first of all, I guess, and then how much confidence they have in her, because it's not because she's if the episode is 60 minutes long. The Penguin's in it for maybe 8 minutes, and you don't care. You don't care, because now they would have done that in episode 1 or 2. People are like, what the hell is this? Who's this person? But because
that's why you wait.
Yeah, you wait.
You did that without giving any spoilers for Agatha either. That was the same thing. You this most recent episode, you needed to kind of establish stuff that was going on, and then we had a full episode with the team. And that's like to understand what was going on. But that's correct storytelling. Let's establish the world we're in first. If you want to do a solo episode on somebody that is not the main titular character or just the main character in general, you just need to get in first, and then you can come back to it. You don't want to start off with that. But I can't believe the amount of backlash that there was
on this episode.
On episode 4.
Really? What was it?
That was a masterclass of television. There was a lot of the I don't want to be rude about it, but there's a lot of like the incel neckbeard stuff where they were just like, oh, how are you gonna you just put this woman in here, you try to force it? It's really stupid. It's terrible. Why are the Penguin even in it? Where was Colin? And I was
really? I didn't see that.
I only found out about that because of Real Rejects, because of Greg. He was really upset about it, understandably so, because he was just like, guys, this was an incredible episode.
How many people? But how many people saying that? Because I feel like sometimes, like, if you see 2 or 3 people, you think that that's the whole thing. For the majority out of it, all I saw was praise for this episode.
I mean, as it should be.
Yeah.
It was beautifully done from top to bottom. Like if you're talking thematics, if you're talking about how it fully developed, her character and where Sophia's going forward, I thought that it was so good. And then let alone, I don't know, if you watch the behind the scenes?
No, I don't. I usually don't.
I love watching them just because obviously from the just like the actual.
I should say that I do for like House of the Dragon, but I haven't for this show.
So it's a similar kind of style that they do for the Penguin, and they were just talking about when we're developing Sophia throughout this thing. They were talking about the yellow dress and kind of what that meant. They were talking about, again, I won't get into too many spoilers, but as we're taking these steps into what she ultimately does and who she's about to become going forward through the rest of the show, they were talking about what that looks like for a person, especially for a woman, the idea of being put up the way that you see in House of the Dragon and then being cut down by the people in your life, especially anybody that doesn't necessarily think a woman should be in that kind of power, but then also the idea of feeling betrayed, and then what actually makes you like fully snap and like what puts you in these different, it's just that show needs all the Emmys.
Yeah, it was great. Well, what it did very well, and I think I said it in my review afterwards, and I saw someone say it in the chat. It makes you understand. It changes your philosophy on who Miliotti's character, Sophia, who she is, and why. And it's like it right away makes you feel completely different about her in this episode than you did in episode 1. Because in episode 1, you don't really have anything to go on, just the crazy eyes, and you're like, oh, this is going to be a real maniac here. When you really kind of peel the layers, you understand who she is.
It's, the other part of it too that's so interesting is I'm sure we've all had that moment in life where you've met somebody, it could be a family member, it could be a new friend, it could be somebody that you hate at work or whatever, and you feel one way about them, and then when you learn the stuff that they went through, all of a sudden it all clicks into place. And it might change your opinion of them, but the one thing is you now understand them, and so you just kind of move around them a little differently. I think, like, for me, the one thing that pops into my head is that, like, I didn't have the best relationship with my dad when I was a kid. We're good now as adults, but I also learned what happened to him growing up as far as his relationship with his parents and things like that. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, that makes perfect sense why X, Y, and Z. So I love watching that kind of stuff unfold in shows, because then all of a sudden you get that moment that kind of clicks in.
Yeah, and it just shows you there's a lot in there. It's very, very layered, as I mentioned. And the other thing, so this one I will spoil a little bit for Agatha, because there's something that happens in it that I think is something that we should talk about kind of moving forward. So if you haven't seen the most recent Agatha, I would say bail for a second, because I'm going to discuss it.
Here, I got it. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Oh, is he putting up a spoiler thing or something? We'll see. Sometimes I tell you, for a comedian, Winston's timing.
I got this head on. We talking spoilers.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah. So for anybody that's watching, if you want to know when we're done talking spoilers, I'll take the hat.
Oh, I like that. Okay, perfect. All right. So here is so there you go. Perfect. So he's got the hat on. Okay. So Agatha all along. It seems we may not have seen the last of so-and-so in the MCU. This week's episode of Agatha All Along featured the return of a character we really didn't expect to see. And again, after the events of WandaVision, it sounds like the MCU may not be quite finished with this put upon fella just yet. Familiar by the side saw teen, who is now confirmed to be the son of the Scarlet Witch, Billy Maximoff, meet with a mysterious Westview resident who turned out to be none other than Ralph Bohner, Evan Peters. Ralph was introduced in WandaVision as an unwitting ally of Agatha, posing as Pietro Maximoff, while under the witch's spell, in order to get close to Wanda and try to find more information about the Hex. Peters made a fun cameo in Agatha to provide Billy with some answers, but why Marvel Studios would bring him back in some capacity and in another project is anyone's guess. We have heard there are big plans for Harkness in the show, supporting players in the supernatural corner of the MCU, so perhaps Ralph factors in somehow. The new series focuses on Catherine Hahn's Agatha Harkness. That dives into it. So when he showed up in the episode, Winston, I had to say didn't watch that, so didn't really know. And I was also wondering if, this is where it gets a little tricky. because if they're ever going to do, if they do Secret Wars and he shows up again, is he showing up as Quicksilver this time, or is he showing up as Boner? Like,
I think it's just that it'll just depend. You've had people be on different sides of Marvel, like we had Chris Evans as Captain America and Human Torch. So you just got to figure out, who it is, and you'll know pretty quickly. Like if he's actually running around and things like that, then you'll get it. I get that he was able to do that, and before he was revealed to be Ralph Boner, he was putting on Pietro and he was running around quickly. But you'll be able to tell. I think that'll separate it. But yeah, I mean, it makes logical sense that he's there. So far, we've seen, I believe, pretty much everybody from Westview at some point or another come back. Like we got the big black dude that was the neighbor.
oh yeah, he was great.
The Indian dude is there. Obviously, Deborah Jo Rapp is there. Like we have seen pretty much everybody that was on WandaVision at this point in some form or fashion, more or less, throughout Agatha all along. So it made logical sense when he showed up. I just found it funny because we're already right back to the, is it Mephisto? Because like someone pointed out when there was a calendar shown, October 13th was circled, and that's Sacha Baron Cohen's birthday. So they were like, that must be a tip to the hat that Mephisto's coming. It's like, you got his name. That's probably all we're gonna get out of all of this, man. Unless he's the one that grants things at the end of Witch's Road. That's the only thing that I could think of that might.
Yeah, I want to see how they're gonna play with these characters, because I think that this story, the most recent one that just aired the other night, to me was the most. They combined all the Marvel stuff together, and I thought it was very interesting, and I thought it worked, because there was rumors that he was going to be Wanda's kid. I'm like, how are they going to do that? He looks nothing like him. Like, what are they going to do? And then the way that they played that, and they kind of tricked you in like, oh no, the parents died and something else might happen, and like, nope, he died. And then now it's like the witch sets it up. She was like, you're gonna basically have two lives, two people living in this body. And the way that they did that, I thought was pretty creative.
I thought so too. It was pretty close to the comics. They did their own flavor on it, but that was essentially what happened in the comics specifically. Instead of, just fully manifesting it in the hex, it was that two pieces of Mephisto's soul were essentially used to create the boys, and via Wanda's magic, and then once ultimately they're kind of captured back into it, but because of Wanda and everything else, they ultimately do end up inhabiting the lives of Billy Kaplan, and in this exact thing, being raised by a reformed Jewish couple and all that kind of stuff. And then Tommy, I can't remember, ends up with another family and all that. But the idea, at least with Billy, the only thing that they left out here, that he was being bullied for being gay. He didn't know he had powers yet, and then he met the Scarlet Witch, because that was his favorite superhero, and she was like, you should stand up for yourself. And when he did, his powers manifested and he almost killed the kid. And so then there's this whole thing of him learning to use his powers with Wanda and blah, blah, blah. So they kept a decent amount of the stuff that worked to kind of keep that story and to fit it into what they're trying to tell. So I appreciate that they, as the showrunner has been doing this whole time, finding a way to tell your own unique story, but to be true to the comics at the same time.
All right, I think you can take the spoiler hat off now. So very curious what you guys think about all the stuff that we just talked about with WandaVision and how it's going to play into the overall MCU and what they've done so far. Okay, so I think one more topic, and then we'll get into the user questions here, and we've got 11 right now. 11. So it might be the short day today for you. The Boys season 5 cast Stranger Things alum Mason Dye as Bombsight. I don't know who Bombsight is, but I think this kid's a really good actor, and I thought he was really good in Stranger Things. He was a really great kind of 80s douchey villain, if you will, and antagonist. Prime Video has announced an explosive new addition to the 5th and final season of The Boys, with Stranger Things alum Mason Dye set to play Bombsight. Though this soup doesn't appear to be based on any specific character from the comics, he was mentioned last season as the star of a 50s superhero film called The Curse of Fu Manchu. So, like Soldier Boy and Stormfront, he's been around for a while. According to Variety, Bombsight's also likely to appear in the upcoming prequel series Vought Rising opposite Jensen Ackles and Aya Cash. We recently learned that Daveed Diggs also joined the cast of season 5, but details on his character are being kept under wraps. I think that's it. During San Diego Comic-Con, we found out that Soulja Boy will return as a series regular for The Boys season 5 after making a brief appearance. It's too much. I haven't even seen that last season, so I don't want to spoil it for myself. But I like this. I like this guy. I like him. He's really good. Did you watch Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was he in the first season or
something?
Something?
No, he was in the last season. He was in season 4. He was the main football jock who makes it. He's like doing the hunt for his girlfriend dies and he's the one who basically and he was so good in it. He was so good in it. He's this is good casting. If you're gonna have him play a dickhead again, it'll be good. But I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him not play a dickhead, but it looks like he's gonna be. But did you like last season? I forgot.
Of Stranger Things?
Yeah, no, of The Boys.
Yeah, I definitely was enjoying it. I think what it is for me is I had moments that I was like, oh, that's amazing. And then there were other moments where I was like, okay. So overall, I would say it's probably my least favorite season of them, but like even the least I wouldn't call it championship football, but like if it was like hey, the Chiefs didn't make it to the Super Bowl, but they still made it to the AFC Championship, that's still like a successful season. Yeah. You just are used to winning chips, so that's not quite the same.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I felt. I felt like it was a good season, but it wasn't full blown to the A+ quality that they normally put out.
Fair enough. What do you guys think about this casting? You think it works? Think it doesn't work? Do you like the actor? What say you? Okay, before we get to your questions, we're going to tell you guys real quick about Joy Mode. Here you go. I love Joy Mode. I love Joy Mode. It's not about better sex. You know what it is about Joy Mode? It supports healthier blood vessels. It boosts heart health. It enhances your athletic performance. Yeah, you didn't know that, did you, about Joy Mode? Well, I'm telling you. Expertly formulated and backed by science, it is proven to improve erectile function by 50% in just 60 days. You mix it with a pack of water and you feel the effects within 45 minutes. You take control with Joy Mode. Get a boost anytime, anywhere, never miss a beat. It features 4 simple, proven ingredients. Unlike prescription options that involve doctor visits and managing refills, Joy Mode provides a straightforward, effective solution. You embrace a natural way to boost your performance without the complications and side effects of traditional medications. I've told you about Joy Mode. It is great. Right beforehand, you drink it. And I'm telling you, it's like going to the gym. You have a supplement, same thing, and it is wonderful. It's the best. If you're looking to take your game to the next level, try joymode.com, and you use the code BIGTHING at checkout for 20% off. That's right, TRYJOYMODE.com. Use that code BIGTHING for 20% off your first order. Joy Mode, get it. All right, thank you to our friends over at Joy Mode. If you haven't tried Joy Mode, I don't know what to tell you. You're missing out. Yeah, Joy Mode is the absolute best. Okay, Winston, we got 12, and I think we'll get through them. But today's 12. Hey,
all right.
Hey, even the greatest players sometimes have some games.
Hey man, you have bad games. You have bad games.
But nonetheless, thank you to everybody who put in some questions here today. And we start with the first, and that's Pete Parker. I've been waiting all week to ask this: who's worse, the Giants or the Cowboys? And what's Winston's opinion on Deshaun Watson?
Deshaun Watson is a piece of trash, and so karma hitting him is hilarious to me with how bad he is at football. And the Giants are objectively worse, but at the same time, they knew who they were, right, like I mentioned earlier, going into this versus.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd argue that the Cowboys are worse, because if the Cowboys have that much talent and supposed to be good, and they still stink up the same way that the Giants do, and the Giants have just as many wins or close to it, that makes the Cowboys worse, in my opinion.
I mean, I think y'all are 1-5. You're 2-4, and we're 3-3. So you're only a game behind us. I think the one thing that's interesting about it, the Eagles are definitely better than both of us, but the Eagles are also not good. They're like Commanders actually look really good. The Eagles look mid. We look bad, and y'all look atrocious.
Well, we'll see. Roman Fedorak, and he says, "Hey, yo, happy Friday, and happy to be here with you, gents, and the chat. Favorite so bad they're funny films. Need a laugh this weekend. Thanks. You know which one? Under Siege 2 made me laugh so hard in the theater. I remember being with my friend Evan. We were just losing it on how bad that movie was, but it was just so funny, some of the shit that happened. How about you?
So bad that it's good. I mean, obviously The Room, that is something special. I'm trying to think of like a Velocipaster.
Whatever that is.
Velocipaster. So it is it is a pastor, I want to say in Argentina, who accidentally ends up getting cursed and becomes a velociraptor.
Yeah.
And so whenever he gets mad, either to defend people or whatever, he turns into a velociraptor. It is horrible.
That's pretty
but
bad.
It is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen because of how bad it is.
That's definitely one that they're more so like the Giants. You just expect them to be bad. Mike Joyce, after that mid-season trailer for Penguin, I haven't watched it. Batman has to show up, right? Looks like shit's about to go down. Where is he? Washing his tights? Well, I mean, look here. Batman really kind of protects the innocent a lot of the times too. You know, he's protecting the innocent. They're beating themselves up right now, and so I can understand why he's not around there. He's probably doing other things, but eventually, yeah, you have to say if it starts to get too rowdy in Gotham, he's going to do something, right?
Yeah, if it gets too crazy, then he probably will. But if I had to guess, because they probably did have some sort of situation where they either couldn't afford Pattinson or there was something else going on, that they might allude to the fact that Batman shows up at the very end. Like stuff will all happen, and then maybe the last frame is you just see like the cow.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because because they could have lied to us, and they just didn't want to. You know, they were trying to bury the lead,
right?
And I don't think this is a situation like She-Hulk where you felt like you were losing the audience, so you quickly just threw out a trailer that Daredevil was coming.
Right. Right.
So I think that if it happens, they just want to protect their secret. But I think that the most that they will do, especially because the show can stand on its own clearly, you just see the cowl at the end, and that sets up Batman too.
Yeah. It very well could. So Unknown. I don't understand how Billy took over William's body, since Billy never existed and thus never had a soul, since he was a figment of Wanda's imagination. I didn't even try to figure that out.
I mean, that's the thing. You got to remember, to one point or another, as much as I don't like Multiverse of Madness, there was the whole point that the kids do exist in other worlds.
Yeah.
So you could make the argument, especially with her chaos magic and just how all that worked. You ended up with Monica with her powers because she kept being thrown through the hex. Right. So it's kind of the same thing. The hex just happened to be dissipating, and it went. The whole point, I guess, is that was explained in the episode. The whole point that was kind of explained in the episode was the idea that, in general, just as far as witches go, they can possess bodies, but especially if it's a dead body, then they can just take the body over. And so that's kind of what was happening, is at whatever reason, the soul actually did exist, and then it took it over. So I wouldn't be surprised if part of the conversation is they do go back to the roots, and it's like, well, that was a part of Mephisto's soul that Wanda's magic manipulated, and maybe that's why this was able to happen. But
could be.
And the sigil. That was the other reason. I forgot. The other witch wrote that sigil, and that seemed to have like done something to actually do that. Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I didn't read enough into it, and I probably won't ever. So Shay Markel, I liked hearing Tom's thoughts. I'm glad he's talking to seasoned vets for advice. Hopefully he also connects with Hemsworth on his Thor reflections. Yeah, I mean, I liked the honesty on Chris Hemsworth when I think it was Josh Horowitz who actually asked him about Thor, Love and Thunder, and he knows they shouldn't have done that. He knows they shouldn't have gone that route, and I think he wants to do another one and be a little bit more, because I think that he goofed around. I feel like Taika Waititi is probably, I mean, I've had an opportunity to meet him a few times. He is naturally a funny dude that you just want to be around and you want to party with, right? So when that's on a set and when you have enough, enough clout for him to where he's going, not unsimilar to the Todd Phillips thing. They just said, oh yeah, have some fun, Taika, do whatever you want to do. And he's like, I'm just going to do a movie basically that's Saturday Night Live in the Thor world. And Chris Hemsworth was having a blast and went with it. And then he saw it and went, oh, maybe that wasn't the right choice. And it's similar to what Tom Holland's talking about, making sure you have respect to the character and doing all these types of things. And I think that we're going to see a different Thor. We're going to see more. I'd like to see a more serious Thor again, like we did in the first movie.
Give me Infinity War Thor. That to me was the perfect blend.
Yes.
Where he was serious, but there was still that base humor element that we got introduced to in Ragnarok. So don't go full tilt.
Yeah,
I
you
think
can
just have the balance.
And you can crack jokes and you can do what you want to do, but you can kick ass, which is good. All right, Winston. No, this is from Mr. I Crap and Shits. Winston, nice Halo 3 collector's edition helmet. I went to a midnight release at Best Buy to get mine in 2007. Oh,
that's what a catch. Yeah, no, that was also midnight release. I was in college. We went to this GameStop that I've never gone to again, but it was the only one that still, when I tried to do the pre-order, that still had one. So we went out there, we waited, we went back, and then I went with a couple of the homies. So we just set up a LAN party at college, man, and we were just playing all night, man.
Awesome.
A lot of fond memories of the Halo series.
And he says, "Hey, Kristian, just kidding. Go guard. Stop that. Free pancakes. Always good for free pancakes. Sony has the opportunity to have 3 separate Spidey franchises and 3 times the money, but no, they want to cram them all in one movie. See, that's what I always say. I'd love to hear what the actual contract says, because is it something that says, okay, when they were making the deal, you guys, we can use Tom Holland, but while we're still making movies together, you can't do any you can do villain movies, you can do all that stuff, you can do anybody outside, but you can't do Spider-Man movies while we're doing Spider-Man movies together. I don't know if that's part of the deal. If someone told me that was part of the deal, I would be like, oh, that makes sense. Haven't heard that.
I'm not sure one way or the other either. But again, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I'm some great, screenwriter and things like that. I'm okay, but I'm obviously not good enough to have made movies like that. But there's no way Feige doesn't potentially hear that idea of, you guys want your cake and we want to eat it too. So look, do your 2 solo little mini things so then you can have what you want and we can really focus on Tom. I don't think it would be that confusing at all, especially because we have implied when you see Tom, that's MCU. When you see these guys, they can pop in, but they've always kind of been their own thing. You know what I'm
had
saying?
had they made separate movies with Toby and Andrew, went before No Way Home, then I think it could be a little confusing. But after it was ripe for the picking. It was right there. And that's why I'm saying, if it wasn't in the contract and they could have done that, they're morons for not doing it and doing the Madame Web instead. Morons. But if it's part of the contract, we're like, hey, dummy, we weren't allowed to do it, so we had to do these, then I get it. But if they were allowed to and they didn't, morons.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, dude, look, you fought back, Winston. You're 26. I'll take it. It's me, Steve-O. Chances we see Mephisto and Agatha, and do they need to?
They don't need to, but I think that you have opened up a door. I understand it was a little bit of a red herring, but you opened up the door by mentioning Mephisto, because you said that what Agatha did is she didn't just part of what they were saying in earlier episodes was that it wasn't just that she killed her whole previous coven, it's that she sold her baby to her son, her baby son, to Mephisto for power. So if you're gonna since you opened that door, I don't think it's a bad idea to at least address it. But you don't technically have to, per se. So
yeah. Mad Sinister McCall, Beth Snyder, Jerry Jones has been cast as dumb Lex Luthor. I don't think he's been cast. I think he's been born as.
Bro, he is such a bad GM. And talk about ego. He's not Lex Luthor in the sense that he's not trying to go dominate the world or anything like that. But the main thing about Lex Luthor is he's a billionaire whose ego will not allow him to actually be great for humanity. It has to go through him. Jerry is a fantastic owner and businessman, and I'll give him credit for a lot of his draft picks. But as far as like a GM to put a team together, bro, hire somebody else. Stop this.
For real. Matt Sinister McCall, will we see a major villain cameo in Penguin? Well, we saw not a major villain, but we saw someone from the Batman universe in the last episode. Put your spoiler hat on. Magpie.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah. So, okay. You can take it off now. So now we get back to Darth Vader's burnt asshole. Hot take. Doom and Spidey being the focus over Reed and Doom is hot garbage. I get why they're doing it, but Reed and Doom's relationship is as important as Professor X and Magneto's level of importance. I agree with him. I think this is, again, them doing what you're talking about beforehand. Well, we know that it works with, and that's probably Downey on this side too. We know that they're going to be crushed when they see him and Peter together and this, and that's not wrong, but it's like you're taking away the essence of what that really is.
What would have been a better move, and maybe this is what they're doing. You have a situation where if you bring Spidey back in, I mean, you're bringing back him, but like he becomes very good close friends with the Fantastic Four. Spidey always makes friends with everybody, but like he joins the Fantastic Four at one point. And so like he develops a relationship with Johnny. Him and Reed are really close on the science stuff and all that. So what you would want to do is really push Peter and Reed getting close. And then when he ultimately ends up meeting with Doom, and Reed and Doom are already at each other's throats like that, when he finally sees Doom's face and then, oh my God, you look like Tony Stark.
Right.
If that's what you were going to do. And then the idea is that he kind of falls under the sway of the, this Robert Downey Jr., like Tony Stark lookalike, because he's like, well, that was like my old mentor, man. And so it's like messing with him psychologically. If they're going to do something like that, I could rock with that. But if it's just like hey, I saw him and I'm just going to go over here. No, you need Reed and Victor to be at each other's throats.
I agree. Okay, so this is the next one here, and this one is from Why So Sidious, a nerd podcast. Pick a Star Wars novel to adapt into a movie. I say that anytime I'm asked this question, it's always the same answer. I would do two things. I would, and I still don't understand. This is what has never been discussed. Look at what Netflix does. Look at what Amazon does. Look at HBO Max. They make original movies for their streaming thing right off some of the IPs. Why in the world would you not make a streaming movie for Star Wars, right, and adapt one of your books? What I would adapt is either the Darth Plagueis novel, and make it either a 6-part miniseries or make it a made-for streaming movie, or the same with the Darth Bane or Knights of the Republic. Make 3 movies. What you could do. I think Knights of the Republic should be saved for the big screen personally, but I think there's so much you can do and so many things you can adapt and do movies. Instead of doing another season of Obi-Wan, do a movie and do it just on Disney Plus.
I'm going to move more into the video game territory. I get holding off on Knights of the Old Republic, but I think The Force Unleashed with the whole Secret Apprentice would have been good. I think as much as people have loved, oh my God, these last 2 Jedi games that just came out, Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, right. Well, there's a rumor. I found out a while ago they were going to put Cal Kestis in something. They was talking about him doing his own series, and then that kind of evolved into him just showing up. There's still more talk about him showing up in other things soon.
I think either of those would be more, because like I didn't read a whole lot of the novels back when I was like, a teenager. I read like the Jedi Academy stuff, and I found that really fascinating but we've already kind of established a different lore with Ben, and instead of having the Solo twins and all that kind of stuff. So, I would say if you're going to do it, go after either of those video game series for me.
Screwface John. I see Winston. I donate. Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever, my brother. Hey, man, your stuff you've been covering about the potential re-up of the beef, I've been loving it, bro. Like, real talk, I am a huge fan. So every time you're on here, I love just giving you a shout out, bro.
That's right. Shay Markel. Winston, any thoughts on Absolute Batman #1? I'm the only one that has this. I have it. What? I know I have the comic.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't. I actually don't have it. I haven't read it yet.
Okay.
That's on me. I need to do that. It's actually been a good week. But the as you know, we've got some stuff we're covering for Netflix soon, and so I made the mistake where I thought that the thing that we're covering is tied to a whole series. So I've been watching a whole series only to find out that they're not actually related.
Right.
So now I've spent 30 hours watching a show only to find out I didn't need to.
Yeah,
So.
there you go. And then Screwface John follows up. He says, when Kristian said Soldier Boy, I hit the Yule.
You. I love how yours is very. It's like the most 40s white man dad version
ever.
of
But I can't do it. I don't have enough room. But there was the one. Who was it? It was a boxer that used to do that all the time. And I remember my friend Mike Morbido and I watched it, and we were always just like, he would always do it. I couldn't remember who it was.
Superman, that hoe.
Yeah. God bless you. So Marcus M says, will we get a static project in the Justice League DC, in the James Gunn's DCU?
We better, dude. I am so tired of this idea that we're not, like, that was one of the most beloved characters and shows in like the late 90s, early 2000s. It's right there. It's right there. And Black Lightning did pretty well on the CW, but not as well as they would have wanted.
Mhm.
But I think part of that has to do with the fact that, like, yeah, people like the character, but that's not necessarily like one that people were like fully invested in. When I tell you, if you want to end up with a Black Panther type situation over at DC, you go and do Static Shock. Not only would Black folk rock with it heavy, but there's all people I know like Static Shock and how great that cartoon was and things like that, and the stories in the book. So you do Static Shock, you are printing money, honestly. So I hope they do it.
Hope so. Mad Sinister McCall. Sophia is my type. She's crazy. She's ruthless and sexy. Damn. Mike is hilarious. Mike goes, her? I can fix her. I can fix her.
I mean,
Mike says
good
that.
luck. Yeah. She'll be more sinister about it, but she can do what she did in this episode. Is that how you want to go?
I know, for real. Yeah, it's hilarious. Pete Parker, 2288. I'm a Finns fan first, so I got nothing to gloat about. Yeah, it's amazing how the tides turn so fast.
That's all I'll say about that, man. Is like, look, your quarterback should retire, and by the nature of him still playing, you're going to always run that risk, because every time you have a concussion, it is that much easier to get one, and you're doing that much more damage to your brain. Right. So I don't think the Dolphins will be truly good again until you move on to a new quarterback, just because I can't trust his health.
Yeah. Johnny Venerable. Hey, Kristian, I've come around to your idea. We need the John Williams Superman theme in the new movie. Embrace it. Feels like it would fit their tone. I feel like me and you, Johnny, we are on our own little island, because anytime I tweet that out, I get more pushback on that than if I would have started talking politics. It is so crazy to me how you wouldn't want to do that in the same way that Bond has his theme. It's like, especially now with the fact that he just did the whole thing with Christopher Reeve, I think it would be perfect to use that theme. But they're not going to use it. They're going to come up with their own, which is also another challenge. Maybe they'll come up with it. Hans Zimmer had a great one too, but I would love it. But I just don't think it. In no world will it happen. Am I wrong, Winston?
No, I think you're right. Yeah. I don't think that they will, and that sucks, because that is just synonymous with Superman.
Yeah,
even if you want to, like, I would actually be okay if you wanted to do your own thing, but at multiple moments it shows up. So like if maybe when he goes to this Fortress of Solitude, we get it. Or maybe when he like sees visions of his dad, if he does, of Jor-El,
yeah,
you want to play it. All of those I think would be a reasonable way to split the difference.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Matt B, I think Batman will most likely show up in the finale, probably stopping a crime that will inadvertently lead to Penguin's rising to power. I think so too. I think everyone's like, oh, they said he's not showing up. Yeah, they said that Khan wasn't going to be in Star Trek in that one with Benedict Cumberbatch. So I never believe what they tell you, but I think he will be in it. I think he will, and it'll probably be. We discussed this on the show I think we had our bet. I can't remember. Not a bet. I think we had our predictions. We all thought it would be close to the end of the season.
I want to say when I mentioned it, I could have this wrong. I think I said the kind of the penultimate type situation,
Yeah,
but
I'm not
what
sure.
you could do is um now that we've set up that Sophia is about to be the main headbutt to Penguin, maybe he comes in and takes her off the board. Hey, Hangman, like I got you,
We'll
and then
see.
takes her off the board, and then that allows Oz to kind of step up.
I don't know. Shay Markel, if I'm correct, in the comics, the same thing basically happened with Wanda's kids. She had her kids' souls planted in random newborns. Yeah, I think that's what Winston had mentioned earlier, right? Yeah.
It was, yeah, but exactly that. It was newborns instead of
Okay.
this instance where they went with a teenager and whatnot. But it's same. It reads the same.
Roman Fedorak, thank you both for the recommendations. You're talking about the movies, the bad movies. I had no idea that this movie existed, Winston, but I must see it. Also, that's a boss hat.
Thank you very much. I have this is not a spoiler right now, but I have being from Texas and whatnot. My girlfriend is big into country, and we went to like a country themed like bar, nightclub or whatever to go do some line dancing. And I realized, damn, my boots are too small and I don't have a hat. So I had to go get one. And she was not excited about this steer on it, but then she saw it, she was like, yo, the steer kind of doing it for me. So
Nice.
I appreciate it.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
And then Maisie's World. John Williams' doc out is on November 1st. Favorite scores of his? I have to see the doc. Can't wait to see it. I mean, I've got a ton that pop out. I mean, the Indiana Jones, and there's more themes, like Saving Private Ryan. The whole score is really, really good. Obviously, the Star Wars, the Empire Strikes Back stuff, the Yoda themes, the Leia. I mean, there's so many, and that's just the one of hundreds.
He has worked so much. I just genuinely forgot. Probably Star Wars, Home Alone is up there
Oh, yeah,
for
it's a
me
good
just
one.
because like I was really raised
Harry
off
Potter.
of that. Harry Potter's up there for sure. God, he's worked so much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just if you have any other ones, let me know. Roman Fedorak, are there scores that you like for movies that you don't? Are there scores you like for movies that you don't like? Okay, yeah. Say what you will about the first Bayformers. The score is really good. It's really good. Steve Jablonsky, that you are so right, Roman. That score is masterful. I love Steve. That's my favorite thing about those movies is the Steve Jablonsky thing. On a movie that's boring, not very good at all, and the score is incredible, is Ridley Scott's Robin Hood. That's a really good one to listen to. I listen to that one often.
I can't. The funny thing is like really bad movies that I don't like. I don't keep.
You don't keep up with the music.
I just don't keep the movies in my head.
Yeah, that's fair.
But like I had to reach for Velocipaster, but only because it was so bad. I really, really enjoyed myself. Oh. But I if a movie is bad, I kind of just push it out of my brain until somebody brings it up again. So I'm sorry. I don't know if I can be helpful on that.
That's fair. Marcus M., do you see the animated Justice League lineup? Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, The Flash, Martian Manhunter, and Hawkgirl as the DCUs?
I mean, I think so in the sense that we're already getting a Hawkgirl, okay. which is you're setting that
the Hawktua girl is going to be in
it. Yeah, man, she go fly in and spit on that thing.
Yeah. At this point, who knows? Her career's pumping.
Right. The fact that Jon Stewart is the main Lantern we're focusing on, that's already pretty big. I think there's a lot there to kind of tip our hat to the fact that might be where we're going. I mean, the fact that like specifically with Aaron Pierce as well, that he looks exactly like the DC animated universe's version of Jon Stewart kind of also leads me to believe that they might be doing that, but yeah, we'll see.
All right, this next one from El Baba Yaga. Hey, Winston, besides Naruto, what is the GOAT anime?
Oh, I mean, I've got to go with the Dragon Ball series. I've been obsessed with Sparking Zero, the video game that just came out. But some of the other like that are definitely up there. Death Note is a classic for sure. I like other Gundam series personally, but Wing was the first one I was introduced to on Toonami, so it has a special place in my heart. It's gonna sound ridiculous, but like Sailor Moon's actually kind of bomb. It's pretty fire. My Hero Academia. Just finished Jujutsu Kaisen, which is awesome, and Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man is ridiculous.
It's good, huh?
Man.
All right. I don't know. Is this our guy, Matt Thomas? Hell of a game. Hashtag go guards. I hope it's not our guy.
It is. It is. Because he's from Cleveland. So
all right, I'll give it to him.
The Browns are going to be doo-doo trash. He had to try and up some team that's doing well.
It's fine. I'll give it to him. He's from his hometown, as long as he's not a front runner. Christmas on a Friday. We'll see how it pans out today. Armada, Ray Nicholson as DCU Joker. I don't know. I just saw him. I mean, he looks just like his pops, obviously, but I just saw him in Smile 2, and he's fine in the role. I just don't know how much, talent he's got. He's fine in Smile 2. He does what he's supposed to do. I just don't know if he can pull it off. That would be very interesting and amazing if he could do it. That would be, pretty awesome. And if they audition him, they should audition him. I think they should definitely audition him. What do you think, Winston?
No, they should 1,000% audition him. I would genuinely hope that they do not put him in the role unless he is absolutely crushing it in that audition, because you're talking about one of the great roles that Jack played.
Yeah.
You are asking the same way that, honestly, right now, I think that Bronny would have been a decent basketball player if you had given him a little more time and he still might, but give him a little more time to develop in college and then kind of come up his own way versus this kind of shoehorning that happened so he could go and play with his father on the Lakers. You are asking for him to be compared and to be shat on if he cannot live up to the name. And so I don't want Ray to be in a similar situation. If he's okay, but he's not stellar, that he's just going to catch flack left and right about the Nepo baby stuff and all that kind of stuff. So if they do it, he needs to be able to bring the sauce.
Pradinsky. Just to touch on Batman showing up in the Penguin, but you think he'd investigate what happened with the entire Falcone family dying? Oh, someone gave a spoiler. Sorry. Well, I'm gonna that sucks. So I didn't even see that coming. Apologies. Gopai Sam Duran. My only memory of Under Siege 2 is Katherine Heigl. Teenage me probably only kept watching for her. Yeah, I know. It's funny when you go back and watch that. I go, oh, it's Katherine Heigl. It's true. Gopai follows it up. I just got to Rebel Ridge a couple days ago. Was expecting full carnage, but ended up with a good story. Did you see it yet, Rebel Ridge?
I didn't. Is it good?
No, I haven't seen it yet. We were going to do a reaction to it, and then things just kind of got in the way. But I do want to see that. I want to see. I'm very curious to see his performance.
He's definitely. I'm curious too. A lot of people are like leaning on that about that's why he earned it. But I think you should definitely, if you're gonna, now that you're mentioning various reactions you're gonna do, I think you should do a reaction to Velocipaster Man. Now that I think about it, you would have a great time.
That one, yeah, I know. Well, it's just it's always trying to figure out, because first of all, the algorithm too, right? I did Smile. I did the Smile 2 out of the theater reaction. Did fine. Did pretty good. Did the first Smile reaction, an actual reaction to it. Ate a big pile of shit. And I was like, and then I look at other, and I think it's because whether it's horror, people don't know that it's on my channel. Some people don't see it. Some people said they didn't, no notification that it even came out. So I don't understand kind of how it works. And then obviously you put Deadpool and Wolverine, it does very well. And so I'm doing right now Alien Romulus, which I got Penguin coming out on Sunday. I got Alien Romulus coming out on Tuesday, and then we're gonna do Wild Robot on Friday next week. Those are the reactions I got in the can are coming out right now.
It's funny, man, because it's kind of the same thing in that I'm still covering my nerd stuff and it does decently well, but I did a Diddy thing one time and that blew up, and so now I'm so I got to cover every step of Diddy now. Great.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the algorithm is telling people that they're interested in your channel. Jedi Master for Life. Hey guys, when do you think we see Barry Keoghan's Joker on screen again? Thoughts on his Joker with a few minutes that we have of him. I think he's a great actor, and I think that they are taking some shots. I think he'll probably be in the third one, not the second one.
He'll be in the second one, but what I'm afraid of is they're going to do the same thing that they did in the first one. It's just some little cameo thing, and then you won't really get him until the third.
Yeah. Shay Markel, Winston, I see you decided to let me down today. I don't know why. Maybe. Well, you did 44. You did 44.
Why did I let Shay down?
I'm not sure. We'll have to find out. Because Absolute Batman.
Oh, my fault.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no. I get it. I need to, like I said.
Because he said I never let him down.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I will make that a priority very quickly. It's just 1,000%. I watched 30 hours of television. I didn't need to.
That's a lot. Jedi Master for Life. Would love to see Frank Delane from Fear the Walking Dead as Gunn's DCU Joker. Anyone of you guys think he'd make a great Joker? I don't know him well enough. Frank Delane? Let me see if I know his face. I'll look at this. Let me see if he looks familiar to me. I mean, he's got an interesting face for the Joker. Got a very interesting face for the Joker. It's a great cast. Yeah. Hey, I don't know if he's a good actor or not, but that's got a good look.
Familiar with his work.
He's got a good look.
Yeah, I could see it. I could certainly see it.
Derek the Great. First one from Derek here today. And he says, I'm throwing in some support. I just can't watch today. I'm traveling. I love the show as always. Thank you, Derek. Derek's the man.
I remember this kid.
Oh yeah, what else?
He was Tom Riddle in Half-Blood Prince.
Half-Blood Prince. Oh, and
the Harry Potter
on Broadway.
No. In the movie Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince.
Oh, was he?
He played Tom Riddle.
Interesting. He did.
Like the flashback sequence where we see Dumbledore's memories, and he was like teaching a young.
Did he really?
Voldemort.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Wow, a long time ago. Okay, so next one is from Gopal, and he says, one more for the spoiler hat. Oh, thank you. And then Mad Sinister McCall, I can fix Sophia. She can slam my head all night. That makes sense. Screwface, if they make Static movie, I'm going to pop out in a dashiki, is what he said.
I'm trying to tell you, bro. Like, do you understand what will happen? They can sell so many Jordans. You can sell them little discs that's going everywhere. Everybody will get their dread froze back. This needs to happen.
We'll see. Shay Markel. Hey, Winston, any new movies or TV shows that you're excited about? And how are you feeling about this Dune TV show? I love the spoiler hat also. I'm excited about that. I didn't watch the new trailer because I'm all in. I don't want to watch any more. I'll be reacting to those for sure. I'm all in for those. So I'm excited about it. But because you just watched Dune 1 and Dune 2 over the course of the last year, so I'm sure you're pretty excited about it too.
Yeah, because Dune 2 came out last December?
No, beginning of this year, man. March.
Beginning of this year. So we went to go see it in like February.
Yeah, we saw it early. Yeah, we saw it this year.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean the show I think will be great. I'm here for it. I mean the biggest show that I was anticipating is Penguin, and it has not disappointed whatsoever. I've been getting really into a lot of docuseries, especially like sports docuseries. So if anybody's into stuff like that, there was one that Netflix put out of Hope Solo versus U.S. Soccer, which was fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I've really loved the both quarterback and receiver, and now I'm watching Starting Five. And then as far as just like straight narrative shows, I'm trying to think what else is coming. Nothing is coming to mind right now.
I forgot. Did you say you were watching Superman and Lois? Did you watch that show?
I didn't. I heard it was good though.
So many people tell me to watch it, and then Luke from Galaxy Geeks, who helps out on the channel, he suggested watching it as a reaction to doing like one a week.
I messed up. I need to get back on the franchise. I keep forgetting to go watch it, but the franchise.
Do you have ADD?
I have ADHD. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured. Me and you both. Because we do the same things. I was in the middle of talking to you about something, and you started talking about something else you remembered. What are you doing?
Well, because we were still talking about a show.
The middle of a conversation. I'm in the middle of saying something to you. I'll have the eggs. That was last week at the diner, and now you want the eggs?
5 seconds ago.
Unbelievable. All right. Anyway, Spidey Sense 72, Women of the Hour, Anna Kendrick directorial debut is on Netflix. Have either of you seen it? If so, thoughts?
I have not.
Unbelievable.
You know what? Here, let me go ahead and take my meds right now. I didn't do it earlier.
No, don't do it. Not on here. All right, so women. So I actually haven't seen it, but I heard great things about it. I think I can't remember I can't remember. Someone who had seen it recently said it was so good, and I can't remember who the hell it was. Anyway,
all I could say is get me back. So when you remember it in about
and I'll start doing
seconds
say who it was. Yeah, it's true. Matt Sinister McCall, how do you not know Rubberman is dating your sister? I don't understand that. Do you? Nope. Didn't get that.
So.
Missed that one, Mad Sinister. Shay Markel. Hot take. I personally believe it would make for a better story if Sam didn't become Captain America. I would have loved to see a sidekick reluctantly step up as a leader in the absence of his friend. I mean, I don't think they necessarily needed to make him Captain America. I happen to agree with Shay. I think you don't need to make him that.
I mean, but that's the whole thing. You're gonna stay as close to the comics as you can, and that's exactly
what happens.
Happened.
Yeah, but they took away, they stopped. Remember, they did that. They gave him the shield, and then they took the shield away from him, and all that. Yeah.
And Coy would know better than me if that was something that was also kind of in there one way or the other. But as far as him being past the shield and then having to deal with people either A, being like, nah, black dude, you ain't gonna be Captain America, but just B, you're not Steve Rogers, regardless of your race. You don't have the super soldier serum. You don't do things the same way. Like, you're not. And him having to like earn his stripes and prove it on a multi-tier level, I have zero problem with it, especially knowing because I've seen what the groundwork for it is.
That's true. I mean, there's a question of how they're going to actually. I just don't want him to be set up for failure, because especially if the movie's testing poorly. But then
that is less on the idea of
that's true
doing that storyline and more you didn't execute properly.
I agree with you. Marcus M. Batman and Spider-Man have the best rogues. What hero is third? I would argue the Flash, then Superman. Can either have a standalone universe as 1 and 2. Who has the best rogues? Batman definitely, Spider-Man for sure.
Ironically, I actually am a big fan of Static's rogues.
Oh, really? Okay. I don't have enough. Yeah, this is one where I definitely wish we had Coy for, because I would have said Batman or Spider-Man. Yeah.
I would go in order for me: Batman, Spider-Man, Superman definitely has them. I think it's just my issue is there's really only 3 of any true kind of worth to it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still Superman, so it very rarely fails, and that's just Brainiac, Darkseid, and Lex Luthor. Parasite is interesting, but he always kind of figures it out. So I don't know. You can't only have 3, and the rest suck. Like there's very few Batman rogues that I'm like, ew. And same thing with Spider-Man. Like, I like pretty much all of them. So,
well, Shay follows it up and says, "Winston, you're a top tier human."
Thank you. Yeah. Goku. Dragon Ball Z, actually, like Frieza, Cell, Boo, Moro. When you get to that, like all of those are like top tier villains. I know I'm going outside of American comics now, but like fantastic.
This is a great point. Crashing Coyote. Penguin takes place 1 to 2 weeks after the Batman. Bruce is recovering from a point blank shotgun shot with broken ribs. Let him recover for movie 2. It's a good point. He's not. He's a human being.
That's actually a fantastic.
It's a great point. It's a great point. Kristian Medard. Doctor Strange 2 made no sense. Wanda was so powerful and couldn't tell her kids survived. Simply from a weak witch stopped Wanda with Darkhold. Yeah, I agree. Doctor Strange is full of holes in Doctor Strange 2, and just not great. Not great.
And I understand that there was enough of a setup that the Darkhold was corrupting her one way or the other, but you just did not truly follow through with things the way that they were, and it just didn't work in my opinion. You just kind of besmirched everything you set up. But
agreed. Next question here is from Matt Thomas again. Thanks, Matt. Listen, having been on set for Superman, I think this is my most hyped movie of 2025. And I will agree. I need that theme in it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Yeah, Matt, then you are also on that island with us. But I think that we're going to be there sad, and no one's going to rescue us from the island, because it's going to be, they're going to come up with their own thing. I think for sure.
I genuinely hope, because I feel like they did that with the Flash.
What do you mean?
Where they kind of did their own thing with Batman, but when Keaton first put the cowl on, they put the
oh yeah, but the
the
Danny Elfman music is definitely in there for sure. The Danny Elfman, it has to be for him. The Danny Elfman music's in. I just think because it's so far. I mean, look, if Henry Cavill was back in, you got to put his theme in it, right? When they did, even in the Flash, I wish what they would have done in the Flash, even when they did that horrible CGI of Christopher Reeve, they should at least put his theme in there. But I think that I just feel like that theme is about as recognizable as any theme. In the same way that I find it almost a crime that they've completely abandoned the John Williams score from the Star Wars stuff. It's so recognizable with the franchise, and there's so much of it that's missing. I'm all for new music and new things, but you can't abandon it. Like Kevin Kiner, to me, is the best composer. He did the Ahsoka series, and there were hints of the Williams stuff, and it's the only one that did it. Obi-Wan should have been the one that was littered with it, and it was nowhere to be found. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say in that regard, especially if you're going to specifically build off of characters and or stories that were already tied to said music, you really should lean into it.
100%. It's such a stupid decision. It's me, Steve-O. Here's a fun fact. Kristen Milioti was in Wolf of Wall Street. She sure was. And still she played his ex-wife, the one
that's right,
and the one who and it's so funny. Like I've just seen that movie so many times that if you would have told me today, well, the second you say it because I saw his super chat and I said the second he wrote it, I was like, oh yeah, she was. I wouldn't pull that right away until I saw it. I'm like, oh yeah, of course, because she was so good in it. She's a really, really great actress. And you know what's so funny about it is I was watching it and I didn't realize where she was from because I'm like. Because Mark Strong plays Falcone in the flashbacks. I guess they couldn't get because either Turturro didn't want to come back or they couldn't get him back, scheduling whatever it was, and so Mark Strong played him. But and I think he's English, and he did as good as he could with the East Coast accent. Pretty decent. He's a really good actor. Colin Farrell is doing a mixture of like the Gotham accent with New York, whatever, and he's got his own kind of thing going on. And I'm listening to Kristen Milioti. I'm like, that is authentic. I'm like, that's that's the best East Coast, or she's from the East Coast, and sure as shit, she's from New Jersey. So
there you go.
Yeah, it's like it is sure as it's about as authentic as you get. You can hear it. Born to play the role. She's really, really good in it. Hey, Winston, we didn't even think you were going to hit 20. You hit 49. I think that's a pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good. Oh, no, I lied to you. You hit 50.
Hey,
Roman Fedorak. Kiner's scores are great, but I think Ludwig deserves credit too for being new and old, especially with the end of season 2. 100%. But the difference is there. Here's the thing. That show, as Winston was saying, there was enough in there in that it didn't really call for a lot of the original stuff. And when you did hear the original stuff in it, when was it? It was when Luke showed up and you heard it. And that was when it made sense. I agree with you. I think he did a great job with his own stuff. But when you're putting stuff, but even then, like when there's Jedi and there's other things, like Grogu should have had it a little bit more, especially as he's training a little bit more. There should have been a little bit more of it. But for the first season, no, you don't need that stuff because you're introducing a Mandalorian. You're introducing him and his themes. But the other stuff, all the other things that they did, I think very stupid.
I agree. Look, I'll take it just to straight music. If Screwface is still in here, you don't have to super chat again if you don't want to. But the idea when you look at, like, say, hip hop right now and how a lot of new rappers are taking old beats and old songs and deciding to reuse them, the ones that end up kind of falling flat on their face are the ones that are just taking the beat and doing whatever they want. But then the ones that you see actually pay like great homage to what was there are the ones that are successful. So when you look at, say, Glorilla just put out one and it's a nod to Wipe Me Down, the flow in there is a lot of the flow with her and Sexy Red are the same. Like a lot, like their own versions of those bars are in there as well. It's the same thing. Ludwig, as was brought up, did his own thing, but when he knew it was fully appropriate to plug in where the OG stuff was coming from and how it applies, that's when it works. So I genuinely hope they do that with Williams and Superman.
Shay finishes us today, says Bucky was Cap too. I just think the Falcon can be made cool. You can still have him go through the challenge of filling Cop's boots without him becoming Captain America, but I respect everyone's thoughts. I think a Falcon movie would have been cool, but maybe not. Just doesn't carry the same weight as the Captain America name. I get it. And then Top Dog Rig, hi friends. Thank you. I appreciate that. Harloff don't know about that. I don't know what that means.
Don't know about what?
I don't know.
It's always like the timing of when did they send that in.
Know.
So
Yeah,
I'm not curious
sure.
What. Yeah.
Anyway, Winston, we did it. 52 strong. I think that's a pretty damn good show.
Baby.
Pretty good show. Where can they find you, bud?
You can find me on YouTube at The Swaggy Blurred. As I wrap up here, I am actually going to go and do my Blurred breakdown for today. It's mainly going to be the kind of reaction show with me following funny or interesting videos on the internet. I have to do a couple news stories because there was more stuff with Diddy. I'm not going to say it here, but like, oh my God. So there's that. And then later on this afternoon, over on the Outlaw Nation with Roca Man, we're doing another episode of Spill the Tequila that's at 3 p.m. Pacific time. So you don't want to miss that. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Perfect. So thank you guys. Again, I still don't know what's happening over in the chat. So it is great to have everybody here with us today. Great to have Winston with us. We're going to be doing a lot next week. This weekend. So I think Sunday I had the Penguin stuff coming out. On Tuesday, I'm going to have the reaction for Romulus. Friday will be the Wild Robot. And I think that's it. There's a lot of other. Oh yeah, and Venom, which we didn't talk about today. Venom. I'm going to see Venom on I think Tuesday. Are you going to see it?
It depends if Coy can help me out. So
okay.
Oh no, because I don't get back until late Tuesday.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure when the screening is in LA for it, but yeah, great.
Awesome.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. And we'll see you guys on the flip side.